Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and today Apple released iOS 26 Beta 4 re-release. iOS 26 Beta 4 re-release was released alongside iOS 26 Public Beta 1 and all of the other public betas, including AirPods betas for the first time for public beta testers. Now this came in at 12.02 gigabytes on the iPhone 16 Pro Max, was about the same size on the iPad, where Apple also released a re-release of this version with iPadOS 26 Beta 4 re-release. So many of you have been asking me, which one should I install? Well, Beta 4 re-release is the exact same thing as Public Beta 1. You can tell this by the build number, so if we go ahead and go to Settings, then we go down to General, then About. If you go to the build number, you'll see it's 23A5297M. This lets you know that you're either on Beta 4 re-release or the public beta, as they're identical in every way. So typically the way this goes is developer betas release first. If there's no additional issues, Apple will release the next public beta that matches the same build. If not, they'll do a re-release and then release it. So either way, you're going to get the developer beta early. However, you could have additional issues until they fix it. So just keep that in mind. Otherwise, they're identical. As far as a modem update, well, from Beta 4 to Beta 4 re-release, there's nothing different there, but they do have some other features and changes that I didn't mention in the initial What's New video, as well as some updates as far as bugs go. Now, the first thing I wanted to mention has to do with CarPlay. I talked about how we have some updates here. If we go into, maybe we'll go into our wallpaper. And we have new dynamic wallpaper in this update. So if we slide over here, you'll see dynamic, where it will change through the different colors. This is something I talked about in the first What's New video, but they've also added something similar to CarPlay where you can cycle through the different wallpapers. So some slight updates there. Also, another thing people have been telling me is if we go back out of here, we'll go back here, and then we'll go into our battery. If we go into battery, under battery, we'll take a look at in a little bit, but if we go into our battery usage once it loads here, and if we scroll down, you'll now see iPhone mirroring battery life here. Now, I wasn't seeing this before as I don't use it a whole lot, but many people were saying this is new. Also, many others have said when we go into Safari, within Safari, if maybe we choose to download a file, we'll now have haptic feedback once the download starts. And one other thing I wanted to mention has to do with podcasts. If we go into podcasts, we'll go to our library. We'll just select something here. So we'll go into this one. Then we'll go to our settings. And if we go into settings and scroll down, you'll see there's a new section that says speed and audio adjustments, custom for this show. Default settings will be used when playing episodes of waveform, or you can change it to custom and then of course change the playback speed and enhance dialogue. Again, this is on a per show basis and you can adjust this if you'd like. Now that was in previous betas. However, as far as anything new in Beta 4 re-release, well, this is more of a bug fix coming from Beta 4. Apple typically does that if they find additional issues, and I can tell so far that this has much better performance. So right away, it definitely is less laggy. There's still maybe a little bit of lag from time to time, but if I scroll through, ProMotion seems like it's ramping up where it wasn't in Beta 4, and just going through different things, whether it's opening music, scrolling through, everything seems to perform much, much better. And benchmarks show that as well. So I won't typically cover those in a new beta, but I ran it just to be safe, and we'll take a look at that in a moment. But another bug they fixed has to do with Mail. If we go into Mail, within Mail at the bottom, you couldn't really read these in Beta 4. If we go and maybe turn it to light mode here, you'll see it says filter by unread. This actually was sort of a darker color. They've since corrected that in Beta 4 re-release. So it does look like there's a few bug fixes throughout. However, Apple has not updated their website talking about any new bug fixes or anything else. As far as benchmarks, let's take a look at that and then we'll talk about battery. But if we go into benchmarks, we'll go back to CPU history. When I initially ran it, it got 3,354 for single core, 8,420 for multi-core. This is only significant because typically it's not that high unless I run it multiple times and usually have to wait a few days after installing it. I noticed the performance enhancement right away, ran it, and actually it was confirmed by the Geekbench test. So that's something I just wanted to mention quickly. And it typically just tells you how different tasks would perform using one core of the CPU or multiple cores. When it comes to battery life, well, battery life on Beta 4 so far has been much better. So if we take a look here, we'll go back and take a look at the battery health. Under battery health, I have 97% with 274 cycles. And if we go down into battery usage, you'll see yesterday, running beta 4, I had 2 hours and 44 minutes of screen active time, 5 hours and 8 minutes of screen idle time. The day before, a little bit more, using 92% of the battery, but it does seem to be better for me than it was with beta 3. So much, much better as far as that goes. Not great yet, but hopefully this is much better now that we're on the public beta releases as well. As far as the next release, we don't know if we're on a weekly cycle just yet, but if we are, we could expect maybe beta 5 as soon as next Monday or Tuesday. However, based on what we're seeing already with a re-release, we may not see it until August 4th or August 5th. Also, I would expect iOS 18.6 as soon as Monday. So based on what we've seen before, it does seem that it fixes a couple bugs at least, but we won't see anything other than that, maybe iOS 18.7, but other than that, we'll have different betas all the way through the summer until the release of iOS 26, typically in mid-September. So that usually will launch around the iPhone 17 timeframe. So if you're wondering if you should install iOS 26 Beta 4 re-release or public beta, well, if you're already a developer, you of course can stay on the regular beta track and install Beta 4 re-release. It definitely has improvements. You'll enjoy the overall experience, but if you want to run it on your main device and you want to be a little bit more cautious, I would recommend going to the public betas. iOS 26 public beta usually is a little bit more cautious to make sure things are right with the developer beta, then they release. So if you want to be a little bit more cautious, I would recommend that. And of course, if it's still an issue for you, you can always downgrade using a computer. So I'll have a link in the description on how to do that, as I have a video showing how you do that. Other than that, though, nothing really new with Beta 4 re-release other than some bug fixes, it seems, but they haven't published the notes yet, so we'll have to wait and see. And so that's everything with iOS 26 Beta 4 re-release and Public Beta 1. Let me know how your experience is so far and what your favorite feature is so far as well. I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.